Fair enough. So the 90-second version is we are in deep doo-doo. So we've heard that. Things are going to change substantially. And are we going to have the policy? Will, are we going to get the changes that we need from policy? And the answer is no. But there is a miracle, and it's engineering. Okay. That's where we're going. Could happen. All right. What I want to actually get you guys to do with me is to think about something. What if you knew what was coming? What would you do? Okay, maybe not right now, but go back in time. Play one of these games with yourself that, you know, people who make movies are pretty good at. What would you do if you knew what was going to happen? Right? So here I put the Roaring 20s and then, of course, the Great Depression of the 30s. What would you have done if you knew that was going to happen? I sometimes wish I could go back in time and tell my relatives to get out of stocks, then we'd still be rich. But you would find the next boom to invest in, and you would get out of the one that's about to crash. And would you think about sustainability? I don't know if that's us, but you know, somebody might ought to take a crack at it. What if you got the news from the IPCC models, as we've just had, that we're not only doing a great job of getting all that fossil CO2 into the air, we're doing an extraordinary job of it. What if you got that message? What the heck would you do about it? How would you respond? How do you all feel about that? Do you feel a little bit of shock and horror? Did we really do that? Oh my gosh, if it's that bad, wouldn't somebody have done something by now? Right? If it was really that bad, and it can't get that bad, 4 degrees, that can't happen, right? No, because we've got a giant cow held to our head and we're about to pull the trigger, right? Am I right? Because we got to keep growing cows. You know, we've been at it for a whole 8 years. How could we possibly change our track? Oh my God, right? Or maybe you just get really freaking mad about this. What the heck? Who the heck is foisting all those cows on us anyway? Who is it? Fonterra? Is it their fault? Is it the coal company? That's who it is. The oil companies. They've bought and sold everybody. But we could do green though, right? So we can have sustainability if we just get renewable energy, and we can surely we can do good things. Because I'm getting really sad about this. Oh my gosh, my kids, my grandkids. No, actually us? Okay, this is really looking bad. What about the penguins? What about the polar bears? I don't want to lose the polar bears, but I think I'm getting the picture of we've got some big changes to make. And somebody's got to do something. We need some action. What does that look like? And that's what we're going to do. What if you knew what was going to happen? What would you do about it? I think the answer would be you would be careful what you invest in. You've got some resources you can invest. You've got some talents you can use. You've got some policy you can make. And what's the most important thing you can do? Don't invest in stranded assets. We don't need any more roads. Mr. Key, I'm sorry, we don't need one of those roads of national significance. We're over it. We have hit the peak in congestion, and it's declining, and it will never go up again. We don't need them. What else could we do with that money? Are we going to build new subdivisions out into the greenfields, especially where the economics is not going to support the lifetime of that investment? They're going to be ghost towns before you've even worn out the first set of plumbing. Shopping centers, we've got to think really hard about what we invest in. And the way we're going to do that is the way we've always done it. Somebody's going to come up with what will work, and then they're going to sell it to you. You can only come up with something that's going to work. You can only innovate when there is nothing left. When there's nothing that works, that's when you innovate. That's when you have to think differently. And the way that engineers work, we don't come up with this out of thin air. It doesn't work that way. We have methodologies, we model things, we play with concepts, we then develop some of those concepts and prove some of the concepts. We have ways that we work. And this is the way we're going to do this. I'm going to take you on this little journey and show you what it looks like for Queenstown, because that's what I was asked to do, Queenstown. I don't care about the whole world. I care about Queenstown. Well, we have to first look at, just real quickly, we'll run through this. You have to know your history. You have to have eyes open on where you are. You have to think about what would happen if that continued. That's your scenarios. And then you have to get really freaking real about where you're really going to go. And you have to face it. And you have to deal with it. And you have to ask, okay, what are we going to do about that? And you have to work at it. Don't tell yourself any more lovely stories. Don't do that. Get busy. And then you have to come back, backcast, have a good look at yourself again, and then get on to it. All right? So that's what we're going to do. First step, history. So I did a little bit of research on Queenstown history. You all already know this. Queenstown hasn't always been here. And then when it was, it had a lot of smoke overhead because somebody worked really hard at burning off all of that beech forest and getting rid of it so you could have your first major pakeha rush, the wool rush. And then, of course, found a little bit of sparkly stuff. We had some big gold rushes. And the history of Queenstown looks like this, because every rush is followed by a bust. Boom and bust. So that sheep bust came and went. Cow bust, hopefully bust soon. And gold, yep, up and down, up and down, up and down. Boom and bust. Now, do we care about that? Should we not boom and bust? I think that's us. We're going to do that because we're doing it now. So let's look at the present. Do we got any booms on our hand? We got any things we really think, oh, that's going to go up some more forever? Because we've got a really big boom right now going in how much we drive. We are pretty proud of ourselves about that one. And depending on where you are, this is some modeling that some of my PhD students are doing. We can mine data sets and figure out how much people drive per year. And depending on, if you were one of the shortest distance drivers driving the most economical car, you could be spending something under $1,000 a year in Queenstown if you lived in town. If you're one of the lifestylers driving the biggest truck in town, you'd be spending 10 times that. Implications? I don't know. If you can afford it, what do you care, right? All right, how about the present booms? How about that tourist boom? Well, it was funny because I didn't know about your tourist boom, so I'm looking up stuff, and I found out that your boom's over. We're on the bus side, who knew? Except for China. We might get some more Chinese. But, you know, it's been over for a while, and what's funny is that, look back in 2004, if we'd have invested in that boom, if we had invested in what the mathematics of that boom, or laying a straight line on it, told us was going to happen in the future, we would have built about 100% too many hotel rooms. We would have built way too much of everything. So be careful. Be careful when you're on the boom side. The most important thing to know is there's a bus side that's coming. Yeah? So every one of your tourist numbers is already peaked, like I said, except for China. So maybe you can get into that a bit. Learn to speak Mandarin. You'd be doing good. So our future scenarios, what we have to understand, there's some, you know, in the field that I teach in thermodynamics, we have a couple of laws, and you can't violate them. First law of thermodynamics, things like that. Well, there's a law that you cannot violate in this world, and it is that unsustainable trends do not continue. It's just a law. All right? So don't talk yourself into anything, especially investment. Investment in dead assets. Don't want to go there. You want to invest in good things. Boom and bust just happens. And the other thing that's true is that people continuously deal with whatever's going on. So given that we have expectations that look like that, and a reality that looks like that, where are we going? Well, I've looked at your current plan, which calls for a 2% annual growth forever. I can guarantee you that isn't going to happen. And we could also calculate at what year we actually have twice as many people as Auckland in the Queenstown Basin. So by definition, like I said, it's a law. These things don't continue. You seem to have about half of your urban area yet to build out. the area within the Queenstown city limits and settlement limits, is about half full. What that means is you could continue to build there, but the rate of building will never go up. It's going to go down. You see this? That is, don't even look at it, who cares? What it means is that about the time you're halfway done with a resource, the rest of it is downhill. All right? That's not a boom anymore. You're going to keep building, but from here on out, the rate, the number every year goes down until you've got it built out. Did you think of it that way? Maybe not. Think of this. We have also hit that point in oil production. Do not believe any stories you hear about Saudi America. That's a really big Ponzi scheme boom bust thing. And the size of the blip that it makes is one of these, you know? Oh yeah. What this is a study of petroleum geology and looking at it in a probabilistic sense. So the percentages that are on here are actually the probability that that much fuel will be available in the world market in that year. So if you want to do anything sensible, you could say, well, I'm going to go with the 50-50. So what that means is if I have a room of 100 petroleum geology experts, 50% of them will say, oh, it'll be about that much, and 50% of them say, oh, it'll be about that much, okay? So 50-50, you like that? That means a 45% reduction in the amount of fuel over the next 30 to 40 years. Half as many flights, half as many car miles, twice as efficient of a car, all right? Or you could be a little bit more cautious and go with a 50% reduction. Or you could say, well, let's go with what all the petroleum geologists agree could probably be done. Because if we build anything that needs more oil than that, stranded asset, dead investment, something we don't need, something that won't be producing anything. So maybe we want to go with that. Or you could say, well, I got two guys down here that just told me we got to do that. That's what we have to do, because not doing it is unthinkable. What was that? That was shock, horror, denial. Yeah, we're there. That's all right. But how about we go forward? How about we do that thing I said we do? We take that information, we accept it, and we move on. We see what we're going to do. And what I can tell you is that this is another one of the fundamental laws of human system dynamics. Anthropogenic system dynamics. That doesn't look too complicated, does it? Can you read those words? A lot of what we do is sleep. I'll get you there. It'll be all right. We sleep. We do it a lot. And we're large brain primates, so we nest. And we nest together. So we like to know where we're going to sleep, and we make a nice place to sleep. And then we do it together, and we take care of each other there, and we have meals, and then we go places, and we do stuff. And it's the connections between those things that matter at all, not how we did it. If we can connect up all these dots, it doesn't matter. And if you don't believe me, get out a history book and read it. My gosh, there's probably been 30 million ways we've done this thing. The one we're doing right now is not sacred, okay? It's not going to continue. It doesn't matter. This is what matters. It's the only thing that matters. So what are we going to do about that? All of the above. We're going to invest in what we really need. We're going to invest in what will work. We're going to get out of what was a dead end. Sorry about that. And we are going to imagine, we're going to model, we're going to plan, and we're going to think about sustainability. What we are doing now is in no way sustainable, so we're not going to keep doing that. We're going to think about sustainability, and we're going to make it part of every decision we make. Next big thing to invest in, properties. Main Street, that's where it's going to be at. That's how you connect all those dots, as you get together. All right? You're going to look at local building materials, and guess what? The most popular type of development right now, the thing that you'll be able to sell, walkable neighborhood. Don't believe me? Got any real estate agents here? I can't see you very well. But I've done research on that. You want to sell it, you make it walkable. People know what's happening. People have got it. We can do the denial thing for quite a while, and we can do the bargaining thing for a lot longer. But, you know, there's a lot of us getting to that action point, and we're moving on. we're ready to go. Production and manufacturing. You're going to make sure you have small manufacturing, micro manufacturing, they call it. Local products, local production, local co-ops. There's a lot of things that when I look at the history of the human project, I see people doing things the same way a lot. And I see us having gotten rid of most of that, replaced it with a credit card. We're going to have to do some learning. We're going to have to do it quick. But that's what we do well, is learn and exchange ideas. So I have hope for us. And as far when it comes, and we're going to have to do this sort of co-op thing in a lot of our services. A lot of this stuff has to go that way. And in transport, I don't see automobile there. That's because that's a dead end. I'm not investing in any more of that. I'm getting really serious about that one. And you don't see electric car there, and you don't see biofuel there. And I have cards here. Send me an email if you want an explanation of why. Those are part of that bargaining step. We're not ready to move forward yet. We're not ready to give up on what we know because we don't know the thing in front of us. But those things aren't there. Technologically, they aren't in our future. So we're going to have to get over those too. What are we going to get out of? Retirement property in Queenstown. So these are Queenstown. My looking at your maps and your data and stuff. I would get out of the retirement boom in Queenstown. You're just too far from major centers, especially medical centers, and you're too cold. So get out of the retirement property. Get out of holiday homes. You know, a couple of big ones left, but get out of that. And get out of lifestyle property as well. The people with the money to do lifestyle, we're definitely on the end of the boom of that. Production and manufacturing, I would get out of imported and convenience goods. I would get out of disposal packaging, and I would get out of recycling. Sorry, recycling guy. But recycling takes a lot more petrol than it saves, so you have to get out of the prepackaged stuff that comes in recyclable containers, okay? That's what your local production is about. I would get out of ski holidays. You know, we're on the wind down of that one. Get out of the high volume coach tours. You really need that anyway? I mean, come on, there's got to be a way to make a living other than that one. And you have enough big hotels and conference centers. You're good. You're sorted on that one. You're also going to have to get out of the private automobile, and maybe literally. And air travel is on its way down. It's going to get expensive pretty quickly within the next couple of years when we really hit that oil crunch and it starts to go downwards instead of just flattening off. And no point building any parking lots, that's for sure. How are we going to connect with the world? What would I get into and what would I get out of here? Sell now, get out of that. Don't want any of that. Sell soon. Don't want any of that. Get me some of that. Buy some, Jackson. I want some of that. Why? Because there's always going to be a market in really rich tourists. That's how they're going to get here. You're going to get them a nice railroad to ride to get up here. And besides, they're the ones that spend money, so get them in here, right? You're going to need to be connected to the rest of the world. And when you think about that, a big lorry truck, uses 100 units of fuel per ton of stuff that it moves. A train uses 6. Can the roads of national significance and get the rail system built in this country? Oh my gosh. Let's backcast. Yeah, you can run a country on a rail system. You can run a pretty darn prosperous country with a rail system. You do not have to have trucks. Hold a semi-truck to your head and pull the trigger, because that's that decision. Get out of trucks now. And examine your assumptions. Prosperity does not require high consumption of oil use. Does not. Lifestyles are not better because of high fuel use. There's a lot of reasons why they're better, and it correlates with a time of high fuel use, but it's not because of high fuel use, all right? And evaluate your adaptive capacity. How different really is oil lean Queenstown? How different really is it? It's different, but how different is it really? If you have a rail system to the rest of the country, maybe not that different. If you don't have a rail system to the rest of the country, maybe it's seasonal hunting for punamu again. I don't know. But that's where we're going. Now, I said there's trigger events. There's things that actually start a cascade of change, that actually start things. Well, there's already been a big trigger event, the 2008 run-up of oil price. That has caused a lot of the peak of the boom, so to speak. So what are the trigger events that are going to actually cause us to have the type of change we need? These social values shifts. Is it that people accept the climate change science? If we could, if we could get the National Party to sign up to carbon tax, is that what we need to do? Our political leaders, all of a sudden, they all jump up and take action. Would that be it? How about some really bad weather, like a drought that is so unbelievable you can't even begin to comprehend it? Oh, we've already got that. Okay. How about the oil price sails above $300 a barrel? I got that for you in 2015. So maybe by then. How about we see more pictures of Danes riding bikes? Why do I gotta keep looking at that? I get it, the Danes ride bikes. What does that mean? Well, I think what the trigger events look like is they look like somebody doing something. And they look like things like this pedestrian mall that I read about in Queenstown. Was that a breeze to make a pedestrian mall? Was that easy? No, it wasn't easy, was it? Was that an obvious thing to do that everybody said, oh yeah, why didn't we think of that? Let's get that done then. No. Now that you have a pedestrian mall, however, you are on the other side of that discussion. You don't have to look at Danes anymore, you got your own. Now that you have, bike festivals where whole families get on bikes and ride around, what you need now is the regions of this country to stand up to the central government and demand the rail system be built back. That's what you need. Because if we don't, we will become impoverished, a third world country of the worst kind, because of our lack of adaptive capacity. If we have to spend $300 a barrel of oil in this country, our economy will be gone. We cannot afford to ship that much money overseas. And we got no cushion left. Last time there was a huge increase in oil price, our currency went the same way. We got cushion from a lot of it that a lot of other countries didn't. We don't have that cushion anymore. All right, so our transition projects, what are we going to do? If I got to be boss for a day, these are the projects I would have. I would get together a transition engineering consultancy, and I would say, all right, Queenstown's a funny town. It's sort of an 8-kilometer snake town. And I want you to figure out how we're going to actually consolidate that 8-kilometer town. How are we going to connect it up? How are we going to smoothly have people come and go? And it probably looks like a monorail or a trolley or something. 8 kilometers worth. What is it worth? Well, it depends. Is it connecting up to a very nice rail line at the other end? This is a Swiss line. Switzerland, as you heard, is not that much a bigger country than New Zealand. And I was just there this last year, in February, and my gosh, you can just hop on a little train and go anywhere in that country. Why wouldn't you? What is the problem with that? People still drive cars, but you don't have to, and that's why they have adaptive capacity. So I would sit down and I would look at the country of New Zealand and I would say, tell me what that costs. $140 billion over the next 10 years? Because that's what we're going to spend on roads. Are you kidding me? We don't have that money. That's a really bad investment. And yet, the way we're tearing up our roads because we've allowed the giant trucks to get on them, we've really done ourselves a ringer. Time to pull back now. Time to step away. Now, this one I love. I could get some transport engineers, and we could lay out a map of Queenstown and get a cycle-dedicated route for every kid in Queenstown to their local school where they rule. Kids rule path. When it comes up to a place where there intersects a road, kids rule. Kids rule, kids rule, kids rule. Every kid in Queenstown can ride to school on a cycle. That would be a huge turning point. That would be a good project. and it wouldn't cost that much. All right, my concluding remark. What if you knew what was coming? What would you do? I've put this up because you should be familiar with this. What if you were in, the late 1800s and you knew what was coming? What if you knew for sure that 100 years from now, women would indeed vote? Women might even be the prime minister of the country. What if you knew that? Would you spend 1 minute trying to convince those clowns of it? I wouldn't. I wouldn't bother. I got no more time for anybody who wants to debate climate anything with me. I got no time for you. In the course of history, you are irrelevant. That's all I got.